It's like we're in full swing for these all-star games, these bowl games. So, Zach, you and Voch Lombardi did a heck of a job the 2 days.
Yeah, thank you.
You guys got to cover the East-West Shrine game. So, congratulations on kind of keeping us all abreast of what's going on
Appreciate
over there.
you teeing that up for us, man. That was a great opportunity.
No, you guys did a hell of a job. Really did. I know you talked about it yesterday, some of those guys. So I'm going to focus on the Senior Bowl stuff. And, this is coming from Pro Football Focus. I know I watched a little bit last night myself. Did you have a chance to see any of it?
I didn't see yesterday's practice. I was trying to watch today. Catch some stuff. I mean, I saw clips. It looked like my Minnesota tackle was doing all right out there, and Mike Green is now everybody's catching on. The Mike Green hype train. I've been on that watch. I know you have been too, but I've been pounding the table at 12. I think that's not too high to take him. Might end up going before 12.
You really, to me, that was one of those players where I understand who the player is, but you look at the way that he plays. Does his lack of bulk bother you in any way?
I think that he's got the frame to put on more weight, so that's why no. And he plays at a similar weight to what Von Miller did. However, I do think he's an inch or two taller. And I watched his interview with Kyle Yeomans. That's something where he has noted he's already been putting on more weight. So I'm not too worried about that. I think he's just got natural traits and just a feel for rushing the quarterback that aren't teachable. With the bend and the first step quickness, I think is elite, and nobody else in the class has quite that to me outside of Abdul Carter.
Would you have him as your second best?
Yes.
Second best edge rusher. And so at 12, you would have absolutely no problem. Is there anybody that would keep you from drafting him at 12? Is there somebody else in that group as you look at your
edges or just players?
Just as players.
I would definitely, obviously, Genty, I would have graded higher than Green.
Is there any offensive lineman that you're going to have higher than
I would not have a lineman higher than Mike Green.
Are you going to have a receiver higher than
I would have Tet McMillan and Travis Hunter higher.
Okay.
But other than that, no. He's higher than Egbuka. He's higher than Burden. You name a receiver, he's going to be higher than them on my board.
So if he gets to 12, just according to you, you're handing that.
I'm probably not going to have a player unless it's Genty. I'm probably not having a player higher. Yeah, or Mason Graham would be if Graham slid. Yeah, I'd take Mason Graham from Michigan over him.
Are you guys okay, Dawson and Chief? Are you guys okay with defensive end talk?
At 12, yes.
That's great. At 12,
absolutely premium position, and you have Eberflus now. It's probably not going to be blitzing as much. Like you need a guy opposite Micah Parsons that can get after the quarterback. I think that's going to be huge. I think defense in general. Eberflus is going to need, he's trying to play sound. He needs good personnel. Tampa, the Tampa 2 stuff, when those defenses were awesome, they just had great players.
They did.
And you've seen the Cowboys before in that Marinelli scheme when they didn't have great players, you can struggle in a big way. The Seahawks similarly. With the way they used to play. They had great players. I think you're going to have to really invest to get some studs defensively.
On edge, I think that, with Micah being who he is and Nealon and Williams and maybe you get Tank back, I think you could be okay. But if at 12 you're like, wow, this is a really good player, I'm not afraid of taking any position right now.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty open to all positions as well. I could say, just give me the guy that's the safest, the healthiest, and give me the guy that checks out with the character stuff and all that. I mean, not to say you don't want to take any bad guys, but just give me a guy. I mentioned earlier in the crosstalk, talking about a guy who loves football. Give me that type of guy that I think would help. Let me ask you then, Zach, what you had, because at the Senior Bowl they also, and I was watching it last night, this TJ Sanders. Have you seen him from
the defensive tackle from South Carolina?
Have you seen him yet from South Carolina?
Yeah, I like him and Kennard, the edge that they've got there. But Sanders is a disruptive player. Like when you're looking at some of these defensive tackles, like Walter Nolan, I've seen's had a really good Senior Bowl so far, and I didn't love his tape.
Yeah,
I thought TJ Sanders' tape was better than Nolan's.
Okay, let me ask you then about, because I liked Sanders too as that three technique type of a player from South Carolina. Nolan though. What bothers you? And this is the Mississippi. Yeah, this is the Mississippi defensive tackle. And to me, his tape did not look like he played yesterday. It didn't look like the sense of urgency and things like that with him. And I just wonder, is this a guy that all of a sudden he played in that rotating system at Mississippi, and now all of a sudden it's like he's now having to play for a job. Do you think he's heard that
Maybe
his tape wasn't great?
Yeah, because he can have, like I put in my notes, can have a quick burst off the line, but it just doesn't happen enough.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, I see a player that's got the ability, just lacks consistency and effort. And it was like I had heard a lot of hype about Walter Nolan, transfer from Texas A&M to Ole Miss.
Right.
I wanted to watch his tape and love it. And I didn't. I mean, anytime he gets moved sideways, it's ball game for him. And I thought he really did not have a lot of variety with pass rush moves. Like, if he gets beat off if his first step isn't there, he doesn't have a chance.
Got to wonder about the work ethic there. Sounds like conditioning and stamina to me.
Yeah, the word I use is consistency.
Yes.
And I just needed to see more of that. And this is what scares me about this guy. Because he flashes like being a really good player, and then he completely disappears for stretches of the game. And I'm just thinking, how can I take this guy? You know, people are talking about, well, he's one of the top defensive tackles. He actually played like one of them yesterday.
He's looked great, and today in practice, what I got to see, he was dominating again.
See, this is what scares me there, Chief. This is what scares me about a guy that potentially, I don't think I would take him at 12. And I don't think he's going to be there at 44.
Yeah, I'm with you. See, that's why at 44, a guy that I also like that I think has some of the similar traits as Nolan, but I saw it a little bit more consistently, was Alfred Collins from Texas.
Okay, talk about him, because he's more of a one technique, isn't he? Or do you think he's a three?
I think he can be. I think he can be kind of what you were describing, Mason Graham, a three that also
6'5", 320,
like wide base. Also technically sound, understands leverage, strong, disruptive, can push the pocket, work stunts well, can shock and shed to get off blocks, make stops first the run. High motor player. This is extremely high praise, and he is not this player, okay?
Right.
But I just see glimpses in his game of Chris Jones. He's not
Alfred
there.
Collins.
Alfred Collins. He's not there.
Yeah.
He's not Chris Jones.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he is.
Same number.
But he shows some flashes in his game. Like, man, that's pretty damn impressive. But again, consistency, that's why I would look at him in the second round. Walter Nolan's looked at as a top 15 pick right now. I didn't see that on tape. But maybe that's just me.
Yeah.
This Texas kid that you mentioned, Collins, 6'5", 320, and he's that big?
Yeah, he's that big. See, that's what I'm saying. Oh, Chief, if you had to like look at this team, look at the defense, and there's going to be a lot of turnover on this defense, by the way. Not only the coordinator, but I think the whole defense is going to personnel wise. I think it's going to turn over. You more interested in a guy that could play? And we need to, with Eberflus, we kind of figure out that the three technique's important to him. But if you had to say, give me the one or give me the three, which one are you leaning? I mean, do you feel good enough? And I have a feeling I know what your answer is going to be. Do you feel good enough about Mozzie to play him at the one and draft a three?
I don't feel good enough. I don't feel good enough with Mozzie. And with the way that teams are running the ball right now, especially in your own division, that is, I think having a monster in the middle that can handle it. I know the three technique is super important in the Eberflus scheme. I think you have two giant needs right there.
Does re-signing Osa and drafting a one technique, get me home?
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
That would make a ton of sense. I've just, in my heart of hearts, I think that they're, and they love to re-sign their own. I just don't know. I think these guys are going to go out and get more money than the Cowboys are willing to spend. That's just me. Well,
David Moore wrote about Osa this morning, and so did Jory. And I guess Steven is saying he's going to be a main point of emphasis here in the offseason.
There's your hope right there, because that's going to be your three.
I mean, but I was reading that it could be a $100 million contract.
Yeah, because ESPN put out ESPN had their top 50, I think, free agents. He was number 10.
Yeah. Real quick, Chief, if I could, in my last minute or so here. Jack Besh from TCU.
See, I talked about Nick Nash out of San Jose State.
Right. You saw him. You had good eyes on him.
And I might just have a man crush on Nick Nash as I got to see him in person. I haven't gotten to see Besh in person. But Besh also is a guy like quick, off the line, good route runner, and the hands. Like, I didn't see drops from Besh in his game really at all. His ability to stack, I thought, was really impressive. High point the football. Made a really good catch today during one-on-one drills that I saw from the Senior Bowl. So I wouldn't have an issue with Besh, but I do like Nick Nash, who you might be able to get around later.
I mean, 6'2", 215. Former tight end, probably can block really, really well.
And he runs much better than I anticipated him to move.
I see a 1.6% drop rate, and it feels gaudy.
I just didn't see any drops.
69% contested catch rate as well.
Yeah, that's this kid. When you watch him play, I don't think he's the fastest. I don't think his 40 time is going to be great. But what I think he does, he finds ways to separate down the field. He's a long striding guy, and so you get a little bit of separation. But he's one of those guys that also doesn't get covered, because even if he's got guys on him, he can make those contested catches. So, Betch, he's in that mix of these wide receivers, I think, that you're probably going to be looking at it at 44. Man. If you don't grab one at 12.
A lot to like if you're doing cut split stuff and you're trying to get these wide receivers in the midst of this in the run game, and a guy who can do some blocking that way.
Yeah. And they need an improvement there. Their wide receivers just don't block well enough.